Barry, where do you start?
Port Royal. Okay, like I said, well, most of you know my own race car number was number 14. That's what I finished my first feat.
And that car you purchased from?
Ryan Osgood.
Ryan Osgood, yeah.
And he won the race in it the weekend before.
And then you won it the following week?
No, I ended up 14th.
Oh, okay.
I cheated to get in the race.
All right.
Well, I didn't, but another guy did for me. In fact, you just seen his picture. Where's that?
Okay, all right. I know we're going to have some questions. Steve, I know you got a question on.
Yeah, I was curious how you got the Osgood car.
Well, really that was through Roselle Dolan, okay, who got killed in the race car, but not at the racetrack.
Right.
It was firing it up at home and throttle stuff. But when you asked how I got started and how I ended up with that car, that's how. Roselle, I was going to buy another car, and he said, I believe we have one that's better than that. And he said, let's go look at it and see what we get price-wise. Well, I'll tell you, I paid $2,000 for it. But that was a lot of money then.
Eric.
How were you related to Roselle?
He was married to my wife's sister, so they would have been her brother-in-law. But he was a character and a terrific race car driver. And he would have loved where we ended up with the sprint cars.
His last car was almost a sprint car, wasn't it?
No, he didn't get killed in the sprint car, but he actually had the first sprint car that was run locally here, okay, and Ben Cook built it for him. I was along over to pick it up, and I told him, you're gonna get killed in that thing. Well, he didn't, he got killed in the other one, and then I almost got killed in that thing because of Ralph and the Wagner boys that bought the car and asked me to drive it, and then, well, I won't say it was their fault, it was my fault. I spun out and turned 3 and 4, and I think it was Junior. There was Richie that cut the front end off of it.
That car of Osgood's, I think was what, a Nash body, wasn't it? It looked like it.
It was a Nash and Willys combined, okay. It had half springs for suspension, which is the only car I've ever seen that way, you know, that I raced or was around at the racetrack. And I'll tell you a funny story when Ray Tilley, who everybody knows, he was driving for Rechester's at the time, and this is probably part of the year after I started racing, okay, but Ray came down and he said, Barry, why don't you take, you know, my car out for warm-ups, and I'd like to take yours. I said, okay. And he come down and looked inside, and it had an open drive shaft, and he took one look, he said, I wouldn't run that car for any money in the world, you know. And he was right, because it had a metal seat, and when I go down the backstretch and really be leaning on it, you had to sort of pull yourself up out of the seat, because the drive shaft would rub on the seat and it got hot.
And they taught me stupid.
They might have been right.
Oh. So you started, when did you win your first feature? And where?
I think it was 71.
Oh, no cheating, no cheating.
Got it. And by the way, all you people are welcome to look through this.
Can we take pictures out?
No.
Oh, all right.
What car did you win your first feature in?
In the 99.
Oh, the boat car.
71,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
And Ralph was working on it then?
Yeah, he would have been. He was working on mine before, but he must have worked better on theirs. He's not here, but I wish he was. It's looking right.
That's all right. At
It
break,
doesn't.
we'll find it.
Yeah,
okay?
I'll find it, but let's
All
go
right,
ahead.
all right.
Yep.
All right, well, now you established, you actually gave Ralph his first mechanic's job, is that correct?
In a race car.
Ralph Heinzelman started with you.
Yep. He's,
When you started in '64, or was it a little later?
would have been a little later. It was
Okay.
after I had the speed shop. He worked across the street at the International Garage.
Oh, he worked for the
He
International
was a
Garage.
truck
Yeah.
mechanic.
Yeah,
and he spent a lot of time up to Main Street Hotel, but, and I thought I'd do his wife a favor and get him out, you know, at the hotel, and then she never seen him again. That's not true. I can't believe I can see that right now.
Well,
It doesn't matter, go ahead.
well, Barry, of course, started the speed shop up there, and it was B and C. Now, you know, I thought it was Camp and Boger, but you go ahead and run that.
Well, it was actually Barry and Connie. And then, like I said, the Boogers bought it, and Cuff started working on my race car, and he was a mechanic too. So everybody thought it was Barry and Cuff. Okay. And it really was Barry and Connie, not Boger and Boger and Camp, and not Barry and Cuff. But it was Barry and Connie, because when I was in the speed shop, she had to pay all the bills.
So then you operated the speed shop, and then you separated like the speed shop from the wholesale.
Well, what happened was Boger's, I was driving the 99 at that time, and I crashed down at Williams Grove. Okay, and Monday night.
Sounds like a pattern here.
Yeah, well, I done a little.
All right.
But I noticed you did too.
Oh.
You might have won more, but you crashed just as much. But anyway, what I was going to tell you was I crashed this car at Williams Grove, and on Monday nights we worked on the race car. So I had the speed shop, so naturally I knew what we needed because I just crashed it. And I got all the parts together and took along down to work on it. And when I got down there, Dick Boger was sitting in his normal chair doing nothing. And but anyway, I walked over and handed him the bill for the parts. And he said, "Boy, this is neat. First I pay you to crash it, and then I pay you to fix it." I said, well, you could be an owner of a speed shop, you wouldn't make a race car driver. And he called me the next morning. Well, yeah, it was Tuesday morning. He called me and said, are you serious? And I wasn't, I was kidding. You know, but I said, but I can be made serious, because I'm a little like Paxton. I'll sell anything if the price is right. But anyway, so they came up, and when him and his dad came up, when we finally made the deal, because I told him, I can't give you a price till I take an inventory. And then when they came up and they decided they were taking it, we were making the deal up, and they said, you can't handle any speed and show equipment. You have to sign an agreement, you know, that you won't compete against us. And I said, yeah, I'd do that. I said, well, what about, I had spark plugs and filters and everything in there. And they say, oh, we don't want that junk in here. You can do whatever you want with that. Well, that's the only thing I was making any money at. So I started an auto parts warehouse, and that's where we're at yet today.
Over in the barn.
Yep, over in the, well, it's actually an old feed mill.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Even has a water wheel in yet.
Well, it looks like an old barn. And is your son still?
Yeah, Troy's back there now. He
Oh.
runs it. My grandson helps him, okay? And they sit there on the computers all day doing the work. And they don't give me any money. I'm telling you.
Oh, you'll have this. I remember Troy. Remember we'd go down to the shore, downward, you know.
Yeah.
And, we spent a few evenings down there, and we went over to the local go-kart track. And I remember Troy. He always wanted to get back at him and I, but he wasn't quite as smooth at moving somebody over as Barry and I was, and they kept trying to want to kick him out. Remember that?
Yeah.
We could do it with finesse. Troy didn't quite have finesse yet, so I think, did you finally get kicked out?
No, but I didn't win.
Too much experience, Troy. So Troy, you're still, is Cuff still working for you?
Part-time.
Part-time, okay. Deliver?
Yep.
Oh my.
He didn't amount to anything before, now he got married, so he'll never amount to anything.
I met his future wife at Port Royal, I think, this year. I just shook my head and she wasn't impressed by my operation, I'll tell you that. So what happened is then Boger bought the speed shop and you moved the wholesale operation all over to...
I owned the house where we live up there. And,
Yes.
And my dad-in-law owned the mill and all the land around there, so I talked him into selling it to me. Okay, I bought the mill and 10 acres there and basically opened business.
It's about a stone's throw from Beaver Springs. The drags, well, you gotta have a pretty good arm.
Well, the drag strip was actually that land I'm talking about. That was my dad-in-law's airport.
You made money every way, didn't you?
He did.
Oh, okay.
I struggled.
Okay. Now, you spend most of your time, is this correct, Troy? He spends most of his time down in Delaware?
Half the year in Delaware fishing, half the year at home hunting.
If I have time, I work.
Do you pay him? Does he ever work for the speed shop or for the auto parts place?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Listen, I'll tell you how that came about too. Okay. I got him started and I let him do things his way, and he was doing okay. He didn't do it my way, but it was okay. And I went over there one day, I said, and walked in the door, and well, he said, isn't there something else you'd rather be doing? And I said, yeah, I think there is. Turned around, I left. Now I'm not going back.
Well, I know you were looking for a place down to shore. Now, this is quite a few years ago, as Troy knows. And you remember the first place you bought?
Can't hardly.
It was a little crude?
Yeah.
I think the first...
Not a little crude.
Very crude.
In fact, the way I ended up buying this one, she told me I had to fix it up, and I said, I'm not fixing it up, I don't own it. You know, it was on leased land. And I said, I'm not fixing it up.
Well, how long did you own that particular cabin?
Oh.
I'm going to call it a cabin.
Would have been probably about 15 years.
Oh, did you? I remember we went down. Now, we were staying at Hamilton's place, I believe.
Yeah, you were.
And
Luxury.
yeah, well, it was pretty good. And so we went over to check Barry's place out, and I think he had just bought it. And let's just say it wasn't the Taj Mahal yet. Okay? I'm not going to go any further than that. But the neatest part, we walked in the bedroom, and there was a mirror. It looked fairly new up on the ceiling in this bedroom. Do you remember that?
You have to see it if you want to do it right.
I was hoping Connie would come today because that's the one thing I remember about their cabin.
She talks about it yet with you.
Now, of course, I haven't been invited to the new place. Now, I don't know if it's a step up or step down.
Well, Kaufman said he didn't want you there.
All right. All right, enough said there. Now, I have something here on my list that makes everybody happy. What thing were you the maddest at me for what I did to you? Mostly on the racetrack. I'm not going to say anything else, okay? In other words, what stunt did I pull on you that you weren't real happy about?
You got me on that one right now. There was so many.
Well, paraphrase that a little bit. Tell me.
I don't remember which one you're talking about.
Well, I'm just asking you. I don't know what it is either. That's your brain. The ones that...
Well, let me think which one I want to bring up.
Well, you can bring them all up. Doesn't matter.
You know, I really can honestly say, and I mean this, never.
Well, I can honestly say that I was upset with you a couple of times.
I can't believe that.
Well, we're gonna get into it a little bit. One night I was driving, actually for Ralph and myself, Mr. Boop sponsored the car, and it was the night you won the feature at Port Royal.
Sort of remember that.
Yeah, I think you do remember that. And of course, at Port Royal, if you won the feature, you, where the judges stand, you'd walk down through the pits, and usually everybody'd come out and congratulate you. Unless you ran over somebody to win it, everybody'd come out and congratulate you. So Barry came walking down with a trophy, and of course I ran second. And he's very happy, he won the race. And about that time, the backstretch flagman came over. He said, I thought you might want this. He brought my steering wheel. The outside, you know, the whole steering wheel. He said, you threw it out in the backstretch, you know, with a couple laps to go. And I thought you might want it. He was there just about the same time Barry was there. And I said, Barry, here's the only reason you won tonight is because the damn steering wheel broke off. I finished the last lap or two steering with the spokes.
Yeah, that's no different. You understand, we had power steering. The steering's...
No, you had power steering.
No, you had it.
No, I
Yes,
didn't. No, I didn't.
You had a high dollar sponsor.
No, I did not have power steering.
You know.
The bad part was I was the car owner that particular year. Didn't know it was going to happen that way. And a car that Ralph actually, the remnants of Keith Kaufman, see that blue number 2 right there? It was his first sprint car. And I ended up trading that in on one of the Hamilton cars, which became the K33, all right? Well, it was a real pile of crap. So what Ralph did is build a new frame for it. We put the stuff in, we were going to sell it. Well, I thought Ralph and I were going to be working for Al Hamilton, who I'd driven for the year before, but when I went up there in the wintertime, I found out that Hamilton didn't want Ralph and Joe together, which would have been a great deal.
Yeah, you're right.
So I said no. So I ended up getting down. I mean, we didn't fall out. It's just what we were going didn't work. So I ended up having to be a car owner. So that car we were going to sell, we had to run. And it had all of the stuff out of Keith's Blue Goose there. And it had a 3-pronged steering wheel that was different. I'd never seen one quite like it. And it flexed quite a bit. And Ralph kept saying, you know, that steering wheel, me as a car owner, not the driver, said, it's fine. It's fine. Now, he kept telling me this. Now, you got to remember, Ralph he's a percentage guy. You know, if the car don't finish, he doesn't get paid. He wasn't on salary or anything. So we were up there, and we were really strong that particular night. We started back pretty good and come up to second like a shot. And Barry was out front leading. Now, I know the week before, I think we had been running Selinsgrove, and I know the week before Barry was going to win the feature and Jay Myers had run over him, right? Jay Myers had run over him to win the race. So I got up to second, and here's Barry, and at that point I was better than he was, okay? I mean, this happens, okay? And Barry will tell you that does happen sometimes. Well, I got there.
Mainly because I had a 312 and he's running a big motor, okay? He didn't tell you that, did he?
Well, you know what I always say? If you're going to plow a field, you better bring your big plow. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, anyhow, I got up there, and I want to make sure that I don't do anything derogatory to Barry because of what he had suffered the week before that I was told about. Well, I got there right away, and one of the prongs broke off in the steering wheel. You know, it's only 3. Well, one of them broke off, and the steering would dip down. I was rubbing my knuckles on the dashboard and hitting this and that. Now, when you're running a race car, consistency and hitting the same marks every time is very important. Well, when you're having trouble steering the car, you're become a little erratic. I'm sure my guys were trying to figure out, what the hell happened to him? You get up to Barry Camp, what's he, trying to follow him? I blamed it on you.
I'm used to it.
All right, so in essence, I'm battling with him, and I learned how to hold that side up, and I got pretty proficient. I thought, well, I'm still going to put a hurting on him here. And wouldn't you know, we're getting down near the end, and the second one broke off. Now, there's only one little thing holding, and there was no steering that thing. Now, I should have pulled in, but you got to remember, Ralph, my mechanic, had told me for a couple of weeks that the steering wheel was no good. And I said, it's all right, you know. Well, I couldn't pull in. So I figured, what am I going to do? I figured, well, I can't steer it that way. So what I did, I whoop, whoop, and I throwed it out in the back stretch and then tried to get after him, which I couldn't, steer him with the spokes. What I didn't know, and I'll tell this story a little bit later. Anyhow, finished the race, Barry won, I run second. And third was Jay Myers. And I'm down taking my stuff off. Of course, I pulled in, and Ralph and them wondered what's going on. Ralph just looked in the car, saw the steering wheel was gone, didn't say a damn word to me, not a word. He just went back. So he knew this, you know, he knew what was going on, and he wasn't a happy camper, of course. I'll tell you how I found out he wasn't a happy camper. We ran Susquehanna the next night, and I was a great one for running used tires. We had 3 brand new tires in that car. He said, Dare, you cheap. He said, you're the cheapest owner I ever drove for. But that's beside the point. Now I'm back taking my stuff off after I congratulated Barry for winning and hand him that steering wheel, which he still has in his trophy case, by the way, the outside of that steering wheel. Now, I'm taking my stuff off, and Jay Myers' father comes down. He said, Jay never thought you would do anything like that. Well, I'm having enough trouble trying to steer this damn car. I ain't worried about who's trying to pass me. Well, Jay was trying to pass me. And apparently, I was all over the place, as you can figure it out. And, of course, Jay figured I was doing that to keep him back, which was not the case.
Well, you weren't letting him by.
I didn't know he was there. He should have blew his horn. But anyhow, I said, well, Mr. Myers, I said, go look at the steering wheel in my car, and it'll explain a whole lot to you. He went over and he looked again, and he shook his head and just walked away. So that, I mean, that's the way it was. I thought it was poetic justice that he finished behind me.
I sort of like that.
I know you did. Now we fast forward another year. We're at Selinsgrove, all right? And I think I'm leading the race. And Barry, or you were leading it.
I was leading
You were leading it, and I got up with Barry.
Shock broke.
Yeah. And what happened is the shock and the shock tower off the right front, I think,
Yeah, it was.
broke right off. Now Barry's right front wheel's going like this. Well, he was going to win the race. He had trouble. I won it. You probably run second with even the
Yeah,
big shock.
I think I did. But
Yeah. So we won and everything. Next thing, here comes Barry, just like me with the steering wheel. He's got this Coney shock with this piece broke off the frame. He brought it up. He said, now, Paxton, here's the reason you won. I went to grab it, and Barry's pretty sharp. He knows that's a $150 shock. It wasn't hurt. Oh, no, you're not getting that. So I never got that shock, okay, but he did get the steering wheel.
Well, but I'm saying, it was mine at the time. You handed it to me.
Well, you handed me the shock, and then you took it
No,
back.
no, I didn't let you touch it.
Oh, yes, you did. I touched it, but you didn't let go of it. All right, well, that's the steering wheel story.
Well, no, it ain't all of it. Okay. I was listening the whole time. Okay, now he called me and asked me to come down for this. What's the one thing he told me I had to bring along? The steering wheel. And I didn't go back on my word. There it is.
There it is. Picture of it in his trophy case.
Because I knew if he touched it, I'd never see it again. You know, he must have thought I just got off the boat, but as I was hanging up the phone, I was laughing. I said, "You ain't pulling this one on me."
Hey, we try anything to get what we can in here, that's how it is. But then, you know,
Now, let me ask you this. If you got that steering wheel, would it go in here?
well, it would have to. I mean, you saw, I'll give you an example, okay? Go bring the mannequin out, okay? The reason I say this is there's things that happen through the course of the years. Some years ago, I'm going to take maybe 10 or 15, we were at Port Royal. Paul Pitzer and I were signing autographs. They invited us up there. And of course, Kathy Kaufman come walking over, and you know, she's selling the t-shirts there underneath, and she's over saying hello. And she said to Keith and I, or to Pitzer and I, said, "Would you like to see my boobs?" Well, I looked over at him, and he looked at me, and he said, "Hell yeah, we'll take a chance, you know." So she took us over. Now slide that thing over here. I'm going to be the first one off of here. This was her mannequin that she sold t-shirts from. Now, when we had them down here last year, of course, we had to put a Van May t-shirt on it, and I'll explain that to you later. So she took us over, and she showed us her boobs. So I signed the left one, looking at it, and Paul signed the right one, okay? So she had that for years up there, and last time when they were up here, she brought that thing up, and it's a permanent part of our display, okay? So that answers that question. Now, maybe you want to set that back there. So
I don't have any boobs that size.
Now, hey, now that's not all.
Not even at home.
Hey, now I want you to hey, Bub. I want you to turn that around. Now, Van brought the T-shirt up. I told him he had to sign it too. Now, the back. Lift the back up. Keith has not seen that yet. Okay? So now you know where Van signed it. You didn't even know that, did you?
Nope.
All right. Oh, we did have a lot of time. You know, him and I had a little argument, but I didn't run power steering. The only year I ran power steering was last year, because you couldn't buy a car without it.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
But like if I'd get up behind Barry, and Barry's going good, I could tell when his elbows started coming up, Barry had a tendency to, I think he smoked too much. I think he still smokes too much. Yeah. Anyhow, Barry gets a little fagged out sometimes at the end of the feature. And I used to get on him pretty good.
Well, now look at the size of me compared to that. Then they call me candy arms.
Well, I could tell when I saw the elbows come up, I knew you were mine. Okay? Well, I can remember you made a statement to somebody. It's about, I don't mind anybody running second, but that damn Paxton.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I used to tell the other guys too, because this is true. He's one hell of a race car driver, he really is. Okay, and sometimes he gets a little lazy and not too enthused. And these other guys agitate him. If you agitate Paxton, you can't beat him. You know, now he's beatable, but not if you agitate. You get out of that, you know. And I used to tell the guys, well, let him alone. You know, I'd sort of like to make some money tonight. But.
Well, any time that you spent a lot of time around Mitch Smith, agitation happened all the time. Okay? Mitch was a good time Charlie. It didn't matter what he did, we had a good time. And we pulled a lot of tricks on one another. I want to tell you, we used to snowmobile together, all right? And we'd go up north and have have really a good time. Of course, it was just a competitive snowmobiling as it was on the racetrack. Mitch had to be the first one there. So I ended up taking on Raider franchise. If anybody knows what a Raider was, it was a twin track snowmobile you sat in like a race car. And boy, were they fun to drive. Well, Mitch had to have the one with the biggest motor. So he had one that had a bigger motor than mine. And them things, when you go by somebody, you could kind of cock them like a race car and just fill the cockpit of the, you know, they throw a rooster tail of snow like you wouldn't believe. So Mitch, he loved getting ahead of me and give me one of those, you know, then we'd stop somewhere. I'd have snow all over me and he's laughing like hell. I thought, well, I'm going to fix him. So I come home one week, we were up, normally we'd go up every week. And I brought mine in and I bought this brand new 650 Hearth engine, which is the latest thing. They put out about 65, at that time 65 horsepower was a lot. And the one he was running is about 45. Not saying a word, in that sled, I put that motor, okay? So guess what? We're off the trailer and out in the trail. So Mitch, he's gonna put a hurting on me. Well, guess what? I put a hurting on him. I buried that little son of a gun. We stopped, we'd run hard for maybe 10, 15 miles and then stop and bullshit one another or whatever, you know? So man, I stopped. He come out, I wasn't even out of the sled yet. He unhooked that thing and lifted the hood. I thought so, you know. Slammed that thing back down. The next Monday night, he was over and throwed that goddamn motor, his motor, said, now I want one of them. So I had to sell him one, so the next time up, we were back even again. But some of our trips north, the worst guy we had up north to ride against was Al Hamill.
You had told me that before.
He, now, I mean, Ray ran up there, everybody. Smokey used to go up with us. It was really neat riding up there. But the worst one was Al Hamlin. Al was just a competitive so-and-so. And, of course, he sold Arctic Cats. So he had brand new Arctic Cats lined up. And the old piece of crap that I drove was an old AMF that I had kind of home built. It was ugly, but I enjoyed riding it. And there was places there, I mean, it was unbelievable going up. And Al would want to race up there. Well, he just, I mean, them things were off the ground and everything. So him and I went at it a couple times. Even Joe and Mitch both were saying, you guys are going to kill one another. Well, I was just as nuts as Al was. So finally, I said, look, Al, here's the deal. I said, when we're done riding the end of the day, we'll come back here and we'll use that hill and we'll just destroy both our sleds. But let me ride for a couple hours before we do that. Now, Al, of course, if he wrecked one, he'd just, Joe, get me another one out. You know, he'd go get a second sled. That brings up another story. I had a little problem up there, and we had to come back to where my truck was. Our other group, they were out on the Caledonia Pike ride, and if anybody's up in that area knows where the Caledonia Pike is. So we had to run about 7 miles back to my camp. Well, Mitch and Al and I said, look, we'll go back with him. I'll fix my sled, and then we'll meet you. So we took a cross-country route, and I mean the snow was up and down. It was blowed, you know, like 8-foot drifts and stuff. And Al he knew a shortcut, so he was breaking trail. Boom, boom. And we're up and down and going faster than we should have been going. But Al knew where he was going. I figured, well, I'm going to hang right with you. Well, I went up over this mogul, and there's Al laying off the sled he had wrecked. I come down there, and I anchored mine down, and my ski was right at his helmet. And I thought, man, I could have run over him. About that goddamn time, here comes Mitch. Man, he hit me in the ass, threw me out over. My ski went up in Al's Hamilton's helmet, broke his nose. Now it sent me up over the top. Well, I got back there, it looked like he had gutted a deer. He was, so in the back of mine, I had an old greasy rag, so I got that out, stuck it up Al's nose, and we gathered. I mean, it took windshields off and stuff. But now, to the dying day, Al will tell, or not Al died, but Mitch. Well, Mitch is the one that caused the problem. Of course, I got the blame. I was the one that broke Al Hamilton's nose. And if you ask Al, he'll tell you, who's the guy that broke your nose? That damn Paxton. I mean, that's a true story.
See, now, don't you understand? I'm the only sane one in this book.
You never did anything crazy, huh?
Not that I can remember.
Hey, do you remember what you did with that 650 AMF?
No, it wasn't the AMF. That was in a Raider. I had a
you
six.
one in the-
I had one in the AMF, but then we. Oh, looky here.
There you go.
That sucker. Boy,
I know.
it's a little rusty.
You can't steal what you're on.
Okay. Well, are you giving it to the museum? All right, we're gonna have to hang a plaque back here. I'll have the plaque made.
You can make
This cost me the feature that Barry Camp won, and I understand.
Okay, but if you tell your story, then you gotta let me tell mine.
What you tell me?
No, I'm saying with the, when you put it up there, you make sure the plaque says just what you said, nothing more.
Well, maybe you want a plaque, and you put your plaque up, and I'll put my plaque up. How's that? And we can get, it's a two-sided steering wheel, we can,
You're right.
All right. Last race that you ran, Barry. See, I got you there.
Last race. Oh, I know which race you're talking about. That was another deal, I came down here thinking I was going to race an antique race car. Nobody told me any different. I get down here.
Now, wait a minute. We called it a blindfold race. What did you think the blindfold was all about?
That's when I got down here, I found out about the blindfolds. When they called me whether I could down and run an old race car.
No. I never told you that.
Well, I don't know who told me, but.
Well, I don't know who told you.
I don't know.
I would not have lied to you.
So I walked in here, oh man, look, God, don't do it to us now.
Well, go ahead, finish your story.
I get down here, and then they tell me, oh no, we gotta run blindfolds. Now listen to this. I said, well, who's my partner? Because you're gonna have to have a partner to tell you when to turn. They say, Chad Layton. That's like saying Lynn Paxton. And then it's bad enough, they start Lance DeWeese and some guy behind me. I don't remember who the other guy was now. But Lance was the guy that could see, and he told him, that's Barry ahead of you. Put him in the fence right away. Then Paxton says, I got to pay for the fence.
The rule was, if you tear it down, you got to pay. And Chad Layton and him, boy, they didn't even get down the front straightaway. They went right and took a 6x6 right out in front of the grandstand. And if you don't believe me, someday you're here and we give a tour, the bus tour, get in. You're going to see little signs and dates the whole way around the racetrack. And Barry, you're right there.
My steering wheel broke.
Yeah, but once we dug you out, we didn't put a new steering wheel on. You did finish the deal.
Yeah, I know. Even Chad, we won. They just disqualified us because they forgot to tape his helmet. I said, just keep looking the other way when we go by Paxton.
Well, as I told you in our pre-deal, that I always give them a bus ride and tell them what the rules are. Just because you finish the line first doesn't mean you won. Because we have a lot of eyes out there, and there's infractions that happen. Anybody who's been around racing long enough knows that you don't, first one in the line may not be the winner.
I know, but we weren't pumped.
Had nothing to do with that. It has to do with rule infractions.
What do you mean?
Hey, we did have one group that won. The problem was, till I got there, they'd already declared him the winner, and we had blocks under the throttle, and I looked in, and their block was
They
gone.
pulled their block out.
I give our announcer the devil for announcing them to win, but I couldn't take it away, you know. So that's when we started, you'll like this one. They kept getting, these guys are nuts, they kept getting faster and faster, blindfolded. Now they're either cheating like hell or they're nuts. And I'll give you 6 or half a dozen for either one. So we had to figure out a way to slow them down. I didn't want to get anybody hurt. So what we ended up doing was a pace truck, which really worked well. We could keep them close, and if they wanted to run into one another, fine. And if they got a piece of the rock, we'd stop and restart and everything, and that worked out well. So I will tell you, and I told Barry earlier, the most fence damage was done with a couple of people. One was Fred Raymer, and the other was Kenny Brightbill. They were teamed, okay? Now, I will admit that Brightbill was behind the wheel, but I wouldn't put it against Raymer to say, turn a little more to the right.
I am certain.
Because they came off the second turn and took 3 sections of fence out. So we had to go around and get them back, so we brought them back around and start them. The next lap, 3 more sections, the same place. Now by this time, I'm going to be standing over there. Now, I don't know what was said in the car, but I went to go across, and Raymer come rolling out of the car on the right side, passenger side. And I thought, oh shit, he's hurt. He laid there and laughed so goddamn hard he was bawling. So I don't know what went on between those 2 headline drivers, but I think one of them was trying to pull static on another, and I don't know. I asked Brightbill, and he just laughed, so I don't know what the deal was. So it was, if you've never done it, it's very, very difficult.
It is difficult.
Paxton, you didn't tell Barry what happened the first time you had the pace truck there, though, or who was driving it.
No, I didn't. Well, everybody was worried about slowing them down, you know. I said, I'm going to slow them down, and I don't need a... They were trying to figure out how to have a thing to slow the cars down, you know, remote deal and all that stuff. I said, no, we're going to have a pace car. Actually, it was a pace truck. And the rule was that the pace truck, I could control the speed of the pace truck. You know, I could slow him down or speed him up a little bit. I figured that would hold them together a little more. Somebody wouldn't run away with it. They wouldn't be going real fast. And I was supposed to drive the pace truck. And right at the last minute, Charlie Werman wanted to drive it. Okay? So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I left Charlie drive it. It was one of the old green Ford. We still use it down here. It's caved in a few places, but that's beside the point. So the deal was, you weren't allowed to pass the pace truck, and it was every man for himself once you got off the 4th turn coming down for the checker flag. Well, what I didn't know was that now there was a fine. If you passed the pace car, the truck, you were disqualified. If you hit the push truck, you got a fine per hit. Was it 10 or 20 bucks?
I thought 25, but
20, okay, doesn't matter.
Christ, the fence
Well,
was up to $200.
Well, you took a lot out. Them treated 6x6s are expensive. So anyhow, I had spies watching. I think you were one of them, weren't you? Okay, Brian was one of them. His job was find out who hit who, and we divvy the fines afterwards. Well, I think we got 60 bucks on Raymer that day.
yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, so we tell everybody that this is what's going to happen. Now, what I didn't know was Wolford, who is an agitating son of a gun, was an agitating son of a gun. He thought I was going to be driving the pace truck. So he went over and gave Raymer 20 bucks to give me a jolt and spin me out coming off the 4th turn. Well, Raymer got the 20 bucks. That was to pay his hit, you know. Well, I didn't know this. So, man, they come off and they're all lined up behind that. About that time, bam! Boy, that truck went spinning and everybody come down the front straightaway. And that's fact. That's exactly, am I close? Who won that race?
I don't even remember.
Well, whoever came across the line first didn't. We
Yeah, you're right. Whoever came across first. You
didn't win, yeah. We had a way of evening things up, if you know what I mean.
Lynn, the blindfold race that I was in Donnie Wolf's car,
Oh, yeah.
and I forget who was the other passenger. I was in the back seat. When I climbed in,
Well, yeah, well, there was a period of time, we had the two drivers, blindfolded, not blindfolded. And then we'd go for 3 laps and then we'd swap them, okay? Now, we had dignitaries that wanted to be a part of this. Voila, Kathy from Williams
she
Grove
was in the same race.
was in the back. You know, I mean, we'd give you a ride, you get in the back.
Probably.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, first off, when I climbed in the car, Donnie said to me, he said, hand me the bag, it's in the back seat. So I reached down and grabbed it, it was full of cherry bombs and M80s. So I gave it to him. We were going down the backstretch and Wolford had broken down. And next thing I know, I see them, they're lighting the cherry bomb. And we pulled up beside Wolford and they tossed it on the roof of Wolford's car and took off. And went off on Wolford's car. I'm in the back seat and Rick Eckert was running. You said you were with Rick Eckert.
I was riding with Rick.
And Eckert was gonna lap us. And I'm in the back seat and I didn't have the seatbelt fastened. And I'm looking out the back window, I thought, he's not going around us, he's coming through us. And next thing, boom! And I actually flew up and hit the roof on the inside of the car.
Well, I remember we had one, Kathy used, I think Raymer was driving, was Raymer and Boy?
Yeah.
Well, Kathy and I forget who else, they had a whole bunch of them were in the back seat. And the thing caught fire. Like they put it up in the bank down at 1 and 2, it caught fire. And we did take all our fire extinguishers down. So I think they emptied 1 or 2 on it. I said, the hell with it, let it burn. I said, I ain't wasting all our fire extinguishers on that dang door. So they all got out of it all right. And I mean, that thing burned to a crisp right there. And then about a week or 2 weeks later, we had the hot rod guys in here who run their cars around. And I left it sit there, burned out. And at the driver's meeting, I said, see that car down here? I said, he didn't listen. I said, when we tell you to slow down, he didn't listen. I'll tell you what, it was the best car I ever had sitting there. Boy, they really listened because they didn't know how that happened. That's a true story. I would tell you, yes.
This young lady got to be on the passenger side of one of those Raymer rides.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna die.
Well, what we do, yeah.
Screaming, she said, "We're gonna die, we're gonna die."
What we do is before we had the actual race, anybody that wanted to spend $5 a lap, we'd put them in the car and let them go around. Now, you weren't supposed to do anything, but I remember as you know, we had to play a little bit. Because I remember there was one lady, she was trying to adjust the outside mirror. Well, I was in one of the cars, and I figured, well, I'll get up beside her. But I was about that much too close. I just crinkled right up beside the car. And I looked her in the eye, I said, would you like me to adjust your mirror? So finally we had to stop that because I was afraid we were going to hurt somebody in there because there was too much carrying on going on, you know. That's terrible when you get a bunch of racers and they're having fun. It can get out of hand. So we had to pull that in. I will tell you how that started. As you know, Gary had a fish fry down at his place. And the first few years he invited his friends. And he had 2 or 3 people show up. So finally, then he opened it up to, any of the racers, and it was very successful. And he actually ran out of room down there. And he had this great idea to bring it up to Latimer, which we decided to do. But he wanted something else. And Gary's the one that came up with this blindfold race. So the only way we were going to sell it is if Gary challenged me. So the first two was me and Gary. We were blindfolded the whole time. Alan Kreitzer was his eyes, and Paul Miller was my eyes, okay?
Oh, man.
You telling me.
Paul didn't know his left from his right, did he?
Wait, all he do is start screaming, and I don't know what the hell he was, all he had to do was say a little left, a little right, you know. He never say nothing. All of a sudden he starts screaming. I don't know what he's screaming at. But the people really laughed because I'm hollering at Paul going down the backstretch, and they could hear me hollering at him, asking questions. Finally, the last 3 laps that I ran, I listened to the people. They gave me better information than Paul ever did. Well, anyhow, we had made some arrangements to put on a show for the people. And nobody knew it that was here. We had some fence we wanted to replace going into third turn. And actually the night before we'd gone out with a chainsaw and cut it almost through. Now the deal was that on the last lap, Wolford was supposed to put me and Paul through this fence. Well, nothing had gone right yet. And blindfold, I didn't trust him to tell me. All I had to do is take a shot too soon, and I was going to hit fence that wasn't, you know what I'm saying. So we finally realized that I was going to cheat. On the backstretch, somehow or another, I got one eye open that I could see what was going on. And we had marked it. Now, the fans didn't know this at all. And I had the flagmen and everybody that were doing the track, we had to make sure it was a safe scenario. I told them, I said, do not let anybody in this area, the whole way around. I said, it's very important. Also, I had a photographer there, and he said, where should I set up? Well, needless to say, I said, I'll tell you what, you go over in the third turn, and on the last lap, have your camera on to catch it. I gave him a scoop there. Now, we didn't tell anybody what was going on. So we had made all kind of little deals. The first one was when they told us to go on the front straightaway. Gary was going to make a mistake and have his in reverse, and he was going to go backwards, and I was going to go forwards. Well, I was going to wait for him to catch up. First of all, we get blindfolded. He has blindfolds the front straightaway. Next thing I know, it's raining. I'm getting water all over me. Here Kreitzer had one of them water guns, a pump, not just a water gun, it was one of them canisters, you know what I mean? I'm getting all, huh?
That was one of them fire canisters.
Yeah.
Those ones, yeah.
I thought, what the hell's going on? I mean, it was a nice day out. Now, I didn't look, but it didn't dawn on me. So he said, go. So I go forward, and I asked Paul, I said, where's he at? He said, he's going in the first turn. I said, the son of a bitch lied to me already. So I kept saying, get me up to his rear bumper, and I'm going to hook him. Well, that was a difficult situation, because Paul didn't want to talk. So anyhow, I got him a couple times. One time I got him, I know it ripped his front, the strip of the front bumper was sticking right out in front of the car, almost like that. We were trying to get as much contact as we could. So now we're going up the back stretch in the last lap, and Wolford did a great job. Boy, he tapped me just right, and I knew right where to go. And I didn't think we were going that fast, but man, when we did, just like he said about hitting the roof of the car, we went out through there and oh man, the boards flew everywhere. And it's quite a hop there. I mean, the car went up and came down, and poor Paul, he went up, he started hollering then. We're going to go through the wire fence, on the outside. Well, I wanted to make sure that we hadn't blown a tire or anything, so I turned it. I said, we're okay. So now we're on the outside. Wolford and Alan Kreitzer around here. Of course, they're coming off the third turn, or off the fourth turn, they're going to win it. Well, Alan looks up, and here we come on the outside. Man, I got that thing flogged now, and there was nobody there, because I had to gate people, make sure that this was open. We're coming. So Alan said, he said to Wolford, "You better get off, that crazy son of a gun's gonna pass us outside the fence." So we came down through, and I swear we beat him. But what I forgot about was I had tagged his bumper, and he had like a 4-foot thing hanging out in front of him. That's what beat us. Now they disqualified us anyhow, okay, for being on the wrong side. We weren't on the racetrack. We were between the two fences. That, believe it or not, was the first blindfold race. I took a lot of time to tell that, but I think that's pretty much it. Well, you were here. That pretty much.
That's pretty much the story, yeah.
Okay. So then, everybody and their brother wanted to do it. It looked like a lot of fun. So then we increased it to 4, and we kept changing the floor mat around until we scared everybody, and then the floor mat had to die. I don't know what we're going to do this year. There will not be a blindfold race, okay? But we're going to get some guys here and talk to them a little bit, and maybe agitate a little bit. The neatest part about the blindfold race is at the end, the grand finale, we'd put them on the front straightaway, nose to nose, and see who could push who. I mean to tell you, don't think that tires spinning on dirt won't smoke. Because anybody that's ever been there, you can't see the cars. We had a couple of guys that disengaged because they couldn't breathe anymore. Them guys just whoop, whoop, and they said, "Well, when are you going to stop it?" And I'd hear a boom, boom. When the tires blew, that's when it stopped. It was hilarious. It really was. So that's some of the fun we had here. I mean, it even made TV. I remember Channel 27 said there was a blindfold race, a national championship or something. We have to look into this. They did announce all this stuff. I laughed like crazy. Okay. Another thing I do want to mention, we lost Al Fisher a couple of months ago. Al was a guy that was always the number 19. Al and I raced with him quite a bit. Al was here. He moved to Florida, and he died down in Florida. You remember Al?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
What stories do you remember? Al was what, from Williamsport?
Yeah. I don't remember much about Al as far as race car stories. I just remember he was a great guy, okay?
Yeah, he was.
And at the end, he couldn't hear. I don't know.
Well, join the crowd.
To start with. But, well, we all can't hear because we didn't wear those earplugs like they told us to do when it was over.
I know.
Now, Al was a really nice person to be around. I know that because I liked him to death. But,
Okay. Next name. I got a few that I jotted down just
Okay.
to get your input, okay? Jimmy Nace.
Jimmy Nace. Terrific race car driver, okay? And, well, I met him through Ralph, really. Ralph and him got together somehow building their race cars.
Well, Ralph was working for me, and Jimmy wanted a car, and Ralphie Billy wanted to run at Silver Springs, and they outlawed it. Wouldn't let it run. So then he had to run with us.
I can't believe Jimmy would have cheated.
Huh?
Can't believe Jimmy would have cheated.
No, Ralph.
Oh, Ralph, I believe
all right,
that.
there you go. Ralph built it the way he interpreted the rules, and when they took the car down there, the officials didn't interpret that.
Ralph can't even read. Ralph doesn't. Ralph, huh?
You read between the lines.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, Ralph was my mechanic at the time, and I remember him building this car for Nacy to start at Silver Springs, and they went down there, but they didn't get to race the car. So what could they do? They had this car done, so he just ran it as a sprint car and learned. He went good with the car, and he was actually my understudy that time. And the first feature he won was the Tuscarora 50, and it was kind of funny because we were really good that particular summer, and I figured we were going to win that thing hands down. And there was a couple of those guys up front got together in the first lap, and I got upside down in the first turn. And didn't he win that feature, a 50 lapper? I know it was his first win because I was mad because we were real good. Just because you're real good, if you ain't around at the end, doesn't matter. So
Rather be lucky.
now I got to make another point. Barry, did you have a fan club?
Not that I know of.
Well, my problem was, as you know, I had 3 kids.
Yeah.
Right? And my youngest one.
I still like Brooke.
Okay. There's Brooke. Come on up here. This was her favorite race car driver. I couldn't talk her out of it, didn't matter what. Barry Camp's my favorite race car driver. And her son.
He's hiding.
Don't fall down.
No, I'm not
I'll
gonna
come
fall.
up. I'll come up.
Please.
Liam, come on over here.
How are you?
Come on over.
Fine now. My God, you're as pretty as ever.
Well, thanks. My mom gave it all to me.
And I know you did get it from your dad.
All right, well,
That's Liam right there.
that's Liam Paxton. Say hi. This is
Hi, buddy.
Mommy's favorite race car driver.
It's okay.
That was her favorite when she was little. She's got a lot better sense now than she did back then.
So everything going good?
Yeah, it's going great.
How can anybody be so nice and live with him?
Barb's back there too. By the way, anybody, I'm going to give you a plug. Anybody that wants to go to Alaska next year on a cruise, we're going to fly to Seattle and then do a cruise up and back. There's a meeting down in the theater. My whole family's doing it, plus now there's all kind of other people that want to go along. So anybody that wants to go listen to the...
It's not for the museum.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the museum. But a lot of museum people are interested. I talked to Craig Aiken out at Knoxville. I talked to him last week, and the next thing I knew, him and his wife's going to go. So, it's one of those things. Anybody that's interested, it's going on down there.
All right.
You're not letting him set it up, are you?
No.
No.
You'll be going in December,
All
I
I'm,
can tell you that.
hey, I'm doing the hard part. Not for you, just for my family.
I will admit, for him, that's the hard part.
All right, I'll stop back up then. It's good to see you.
Well, I saw him just come in, so I figured we'd get that in there.
That's neat, I love it.
Okay, very good. Okay, Ralph Heinzel. Now, come on, we got to tell the truth. Now, Ralph's going to get a copy of this, so if he isn't here...
Ralph is just the greatest guy I ever met. And Lynn's been cutting him up before this microphone was on. And I wish he was here right now.
I do too. Ralph would, he'd do anything. He'd stay up all night. He'd sleep beside the race car. It was very important to him. And he had his positive things, and he had a few negative things that we're not going to talk about. But
Best let those alone.
yeah, well, I will tell you this. We had a crew cab. Mr. Boop bought us a crew cab to go. We go out on Wednesday out to the races. And I learned something. You did not sit in the seat right behind him with the window open. Ralph chewed tobacco, all right? And he didn't have a spit cup. He left her fly out. Well, if you sit and the wind's going wrong, guess what? A lot of nights, I'd go out with a race car and have tobacco juice all over that side of the car when we were out in Ohio or Indiana, wherever we were running that particular deal. So we learned real quick. Now, Peg, come on up front here where we can see you. Well, come on up here. I hope you all know Peg Baker. Look at her. She's running a marathon.
Oh my God.
Huh?
I'm coming.
You gotta recognize Peg. She was a concession person for years over at Williams Grove.
Hey,
And before that, Wink's here. There's Wink. Wink was, he owned the Lloyd car that,
No, she didn't.
How's she doing?
Tommy Spriegel won the championship with 1 year at Selinsgrove.
How you doing?
I think we have his helmet and his uniform from winning that.
I gotta come and see back.
So, but he made so much money with the trucking company that he still works for that paid for the race car. Of course, Peg, Peg and Bill, I can tell one story. Bill used to go to the race and he helped us quite a bit, or he was around up at Port Royal. And the night that the car came in from warm-ups, and it was muddy in the pits, and the car, I had just come in, and I'm in the car, and my crew's all around me asking me questions. Next thing I knew, boom! Everybody got thrown. Here a guy come in, couldn't get it out of gear, slid right straight up. I don't know if he panicked, ran right into my car. I mean, my crew, they took them all to the hospital. I think Rick ended up with a broken leg. But Bill, actually, her husband, got the worst of it. He was walking by.
I'm a witness to that, I saw that.
Okay. And the guy actually ran right over Bill. I mean, ran over him. I think he took his clothes off. Took his pants off. Ran right over him. What, he called you from the hospital?
No, he went home and called me. He saw the Lloyds, okay, on the way home. And he got home and called me and says, I didn't know who it was. I had no idea. And he says, can you come home? And I said, who is this? Because he was at the races.
Yeah.
He said, it's Bill. I said, oh, Jesus mighty. So we passed the Lloyds on the way. Okay, and we said, how is he? They said, oh, he's in pretty bad shape.
What, broke some bones?
Well, his leg.
Yeah.
Got his leg. Yeah. But oh my God, when I went in that bedroom, he was laying there, the whole side of him is just like raw meat. Yeah. Down the face, all the way down.
He got run completely
over.
Oh,
it was bad.
Luckily, for years after that, I said, you look a lot better with your clothes on and off. It was all muddy, and it shoved him in the mud.
That's what saved him, the mud.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
all right.
I just wanted to stop and see you. Okay. You take care and tell Connie.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Wink gave Barbie stuff for you.
Don't give her money. I'll never see it, Wink. You get out and retrieve that, Wink. You don't give that to my wife. All right. Barry, we're going to field some questions here. Anybody's got a question you want to field on most any subject? I have, of course, we talked about Ralph a little bit. Keith Kaufman. You got to be able to tell a few stories there.
Well, I'm going to start with Ralph. I just remembered something when I was standing out there smoking a cigarette.
What were you doing?
Smoking a cigarette.
All right. Okay.
Mainly tried to get away from you, but Wolford told me that. Stay away from him. No, I was hunting him the last time I was here when I raced down here, and I said to him, where's Paxton? He said, Barry, just stop and listen. You'll hear him. That's what he told me, and he was right. As far as Ralph goes, I got to tell you this because it's sad but cute. Okay, we had a New Year's Eve party, okay, for the pit crew and things, and
well, I never got invited.
Well, you weren't on my crew.
Oh.
I wish you would have been. I'd have fired you. But anyway, what I was going to tell you was Ralph and Helen, that's his wife, were supposed to, like she passed away now, but they were supposed to come to the New Year's Eve party. Well, Ralph was known to drink a little. Okay. And all the guys were there. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, but there was, I remember 3 of them were there, and Ralph never showed up. Well, it got to be about midnight or so. Here comes Ralph, but no Helen. And he's totally drunk. And I said, what do you want, Ralph? And he said, well, give me whatever you're drinking. Oh, no, Ralph, you can't drink what I'm drinking because I'm drinking whiskey, you know. Oh, yes, I can. Well, I should have knew better, but I gave it to him. But he was already drunk. And finally he said he was going home, and he had this old Jeep that had the slides on the windshield, where you pressed the windshield out and there were, you know, slides that came out. And anyway,
Well, you guys live in God's country up there.
well, yeah, but it wasn't wide enough.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, so now Ralph says he's going home. Well, we get outside, and naturally he takes a leak alongside of the car in the middle of the road, but that's normal for Ralph. You don't even think about that. And so he starts heading home. When I went back in, I said to Connie, I said, you know, Ralph had a lot to drink. I better follow him home, and I can't let him see me because, oh, he'd get devilish mad at me. And so anyway, I'm following him, you know, I get out quick and I see there's tail lights way up ahead of me. He gets up there and there's this old, well, it was a dirt road at that time. I went back through to the road where he lived on, and I'm staying back where he doesn't know it's me, you know, but I keep watching the tail lights. And he's not far from home now, but all of a sudden I don't see any tail lights. And I said, jeez, I can't believe I left him get that far ahead. So I start going faster, and all of a sudden I look up through the field. There's Ralph hanging out of the Jeep, the blood running down over his face. Okay, when he left there, he had this camouflage hat on, and I went in quick because I mean he was tore up. One of those things went right up through his face here. And so I said to Ralph, I said, I gotta get you down home and get you to the hospital. He said, I'm not leaving until I get my hat. Here in this deal, his hat flew off. Now it's dark. I'm out there walking through the snow that's about 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep, looking for a hat, and my mechanic's dying over there in the car. You know, I'm saying, don't make a whole lot of sense, but he wasn't leaving until I found the hat. I took it back, I threw it on his head. I said, now come on. So now we get down to my place, and I go in the back door, and I said, oh man, Connie, we're in trouble. And when she come out and took a look, she said, yeah, man. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna have to get him to the hospital. He said, I ain't going to the hospital, I'm going home. I said, no, Ralph, you can't go home in the shape you're in. Well, you had to know Ralph, he had a terrible temper, especially when he was drunk. And he says, Barry, I'm going home. I said, no, I'm not going to let you in. I pulled him back and was holding him there, and he said, I'm going to start at 10 and count backwards. And if you don't let go of me by the time I hit 1, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. And I'm thinking, oh man, I can't even hit this guy in the face. I'll get the blame for this, you know. So all I can think about is, oh man, I need help. So I called, was Lynn Ritter first. He only had one arm, but Lynn was pretty tough. And I said, hey Lynn, come out here. He was in the living room. I said, come out here, I need help. He come out and made the turn at the door where he could see Ralph, and he passed out on the floor. Okay. So Orville Ettinger was there, and he's a pretty tough character. So I said, hollered to Orville. I said, Orville, I need help out here. Well, Orville walks out, and he falls alongside of Lynn. Now I got one young kid in there, Gary, in there, who was the son of the super service garage people, and he's just a kid. Well, I called Gary, and thank God at least he could help me a little, and then I finally, Ralph was slow, but he was getting close to 1 now, you know, and I said, you know what, Ralph, I've had about enough of you. You come in here and look in the mirror in the bathroom, and if you still want to go home to Helen, you go ahead. I'll take you home. Well, I took him in, and now he looks in the mirror. Well, I'm telling you, he was tore up. Now we get into the pity story, you know. Oh my God, I have a wonderful, beautiful wife, 2 great kids, and here I am, ruined for life. You know, I can still hear him going through it. And finally I said, well, we're going to the hospital now. So, and then he didn't argue with me, and we got him to the hospital after a lot of dry heaves on the way home, or the way up. And it worked out all right. Even if he did tell the doctor that his sister was a nurse there, and the damn doctor better do it right. That's a Ralph story.
What hospital did you go to? I didn't know there was such a thing within a 100-mile radius of your particular area.
Well, it isn't the best one in the world, but it's the one we have.
Which one?
Went to Lewistown.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a half-hour trip.
Oh, yeah. And he threw up the whole way up. So he got the dry heaves.
Is that the best thing you got to say about Ralph? He's not gonna be happy about that.
Yeah, I could tell a lot more stories, but it's best we don't do that.
Well, he started with you, and of course, then he stayed with Boger, right?
Yeah.
And next thing we know, well, Gene Varner, was he before you?
Yeah, Gene run the car
Gene was the
before I
first
raced, yeah.
driver for Boger, the 99.
Yeah,
Then you were there, right?
yeah.
And then they hired Opperman.
Yeah, they fired me and hired out.
Yeah. Well, that happens.
Part of the deal,
Yeah, I know
like
it is,
spark
but-
plugs,
yeah.
screw us in and screw us out.
Now, I got a question. You drove for the Campbells, Campbell Express. Then you left them and had your own car, and then Nacy, was Nacy the next driver up?
I got fired there too.
Oh, did
Nacy
you?
got hired, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I didn't know this.
Oh, no, I was fired a lot. But you know what? All of those owners treated me good.
Well, you know what I always said, we hire the handicap here, it's fun to watch them work. Maybe that's what they were, maybe that was the deal, you understand?
Hey, whatever, as long as you pay me, I don't mind.
All right, okay. All right, are you done with Ralph now a little bit?
Yeah, now you want me to cut Keith up.
Yeah. I just, I'm sure you have a story that our audience would enjoy. Now, just Keith, not Kathy, just Keith.
Oh, Kathy, that'd go on forever. No, Keith is, well, the one I like.
Did you teach him how to smoke too?
No, he actually has,
He quit.
He quit. Yeah.
Well, then he's not
Yeah.
altogether stupid, is he?
Well, he thinks he's gonna live forever now. Ain't gonna happen. But, no, there's so many with Keith too, but I'm trying to think of a good one.
You knew Keith's dad, Bob, didn't you?
Oh, my.
Boy, was he a piece of work, huh?
You're right. I always remember, we used to have to, like, to go to Williams Road, we'd have to come down Front Street and then cross the Harvey Taylor Bridge.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you came down Second Street, you were going against the grain.
Yeah, right.
All right.
But when we come down Front Street,
Yeah.
it seemed like we always got together somehow. Like they came from Mifflintown, we're coming, towing race cars, what have you. But then we'd race down Front Street, okay, to Harvey Taylor Bridge. Well, I thought we were winning the one night, and you know that old hearse thing that Bob drove?
Yeah.
Bob Kaufman, he had an old black, looked like a hearse to me.
Is that when he was working for Cluck?
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I think I'm winning, and all of a sudden I look over, you know that path they have over there down along the riverfront?
Bicycle path.
There goes Bob, right by me and back out over the curb. And said, well, I guess I'm not winning tonight either. But he was a dandy, and Keith is too. Keith threw some of the best parties I was ever at. It's the only place I ever seen streakers. And I won't mention their name because you would know some of them. But this one guy took all his clothes off, and the girl took all her clothes off, and they run down through the crowd. That's my first deal with streakers, and it wasn't bad. But Keith had some of the best parties I know. It might have been even this one, but I remember he came over to me. He said, "No, because he just told you about, Bob working for Clax." Keith came over to me. He said, "Barry," he whispered real quiet like, and he said, "That meat is horse meat." He said, "Don't tell anybody." He said, "But I wanted you to know." Well, I even tasted it. It wasn't all that bad, but it probably came from Clax. And Clax was...
If you remember, I think it's right on the hood there.
Yeah.
I think they were the first sponsor of the K33, Cluck, before Groninger, yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't know the Plex, it's 1-800 dead cow.
Well, I remember Bob called me, and he was in Ohio. He was always in Ohio, you know. Because I remember we went into, after the races out there, we were looking for a motel or something. We went in this bar, and lo and behold, Bob was there. He said, "Oh yeah, it's a good place. Sit down here about half." Now he knew everything, everywhere, and he wasn't out for the races. He was, I don't know what he was doing, but he was working out there. Anyhow, I had bought these 2 cars from Hamilton. That when he went to the Maxwell cars, he was done with the Travis cars, and I ended up buying them both from Al. Bob called up and he said, "I got to get Keith in something good. There's cars for sale." I said, "Yep." And he told me, I told him what I wanted for him, for the 1 car. He said, "All right, I'll take it. I'll be in." And what Keith tells me later on, now he's in Ohio and he's coming in, and he didn't have a penny in his pocket. Until he got down to my place, he had the cash to buy that race car. I'm going to say $5,000. I don't remember. But, and that, of course, was the K33. Now, I will tell you one thing, that Keith, that was a real good Travis car. It had to be. It took quite a beating. I saw at least 2 pictures of that car when the wheelbase went from 88 down to about 68. You know, that thing used to make a lot of trips out to Travis's to get a new front clip put on it. He used to drop. Do you remember where he won his first feature? Keith.
I do.
Oh, I do too.
I don't.
East Windsor, New Jersey.
Okay.
Remember, they towed that, they had that car on some kind of trailer, and they towed it with a truck, I don't know what it was. I mean, it was a weird looking deal. We'd get out and run East Windsor, and they won the feature. And I'll tell you what, I'm sure they didn't get home right away because they were celebrating. You know, Keith, at first, Port Royal was very tough to him. He didn't win there till...
Boy, well, when he got going on it.
Oh, yeah, he was tough to beat up there. But initially, he didn't win for quite a while. He won every place else. But then, once he had it going, I mean, what's he won, 125 races up there?
I mean, he was unbeatable at times.
Yeah, he was.
You know, you hated to see him come because you knew you weren't going to win.
Yeah.
You know, but the other thing I'll tell you about Keith, and this is more on myself, I guess, than Keith, but I always thought it was cute. He broke his leg or something on the outlaw trail, and he couldn't race, so he came to the races at Port Royal. Well, it was the year where I was fairly fast up there almost every race. But
What was that? I don't remember that.
That's because you weren't there.
Oh, all right.
But really, so anyway, Wolfgang and Keith and I were pretty close, you know. And this night, I started back, okay, went into the lead, spun out for some reason, went to the rear, went back up through, got almost to the lead again, and it must have been somebody else's fault that I crashed or spun out again. And I had to go to the back the 3rd time, and then I finally figured it out and won the race. Okay, but anyway, so I get a phone call Sunday morning, and it's Wolfgang from out in South Dakota. And he says, "Barry, I had to call you." He said, "Keith called and told me you're in your 2nd childhood." No, we were good friends, still are to this day, and he's a terrific guy. And Wolfgang and I always said, he can't talk. I mean, when you get him on the loudspeaker, that's ridiculous. If Wolfgang and I had been born with Kaufman's looks, we'd have been movie stars. We wouldn't have had this.
Bob, that's one thing. Bob is, first couple times he won at Port Royal, he stammered and stuff, and Bob was standing next to Bob, said, "Paxton, will you take him and teach him how to talk?" And that's what he would say. You always, you know, Keith just was not a very good interviewer. I mean, later on he became a whole lot better.
But I mean, And you can't even laugh.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far.
Hey, here's-
Remember, this tape is gonna be available
I
for
know
everybody to
that.
see.
That's
All
why
right.
I'm doing this.
All right.
I owe him a couple.
Okay. If anybody got any questions, you got a perfect opportunity. A lot of subject matter. He's seen a lot. There you go.
Barry, how about some Opperman stories?
Oh, that is tough. He took my ride too. I don't know if I can find it quick enough.
Well, did you ever find out where you won your first race?
Oh, I know where I won my first one.
Where?
Huh?
Where?
Port Royal.
Okay. What year?
That's what he didn't find.
74, I think it said in there.
71.
Oh, 175.
71?
I thought it was 74, but.
Yeah. Dear Barry, I love you, my darling. Jan Opperman. What else can I say? He was smoked up again.
Yeah, God, that's what it says, and he definitely signed it.
I think Ralph would
Hey.
probably be in that picture.
Oh, I'm sure he is. There he is. I didn't know Opperman was a switch hitter.
Oh. I didn't know I was either.
He was a hell of a race car driver.
Yes, he was.
He was a con man.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. He used everything in his power to get an advantage over somebody.
What?
But by the seat of his pants, he could drive a race car.
He could drive a race car, but him and Kenny Well both, give them credit. They knew things we didn't know. We started to catch up once we found out what all they were using, but they were connected out in the Midwest and the West, and they actually, well, I really believe that's where the Coney Shocks actually first came in here, was through them. But I'm just saying that they knew things that we did not know.
Well, Kenny liked horsepower, and he always had strong motors. And when I went with Mr. Emmerich had turned Kenny down, which was surprising, but I always used to talk to his grandsons, and Kenny just fluffed them off. So it had nothing to do with performance. Performance-wise, you should have hired him. But they liked me. So they hired me. I went from running a Ford to running a Chevy, and poor Kenny, all he could do was get done right Ford. He went from running a Chevy to running a Ford. Now there was only one trouble. Ford, their biggest motor was a 289-302 at the time. And if you got any bigger than 400 or 333 inches, something like that, they wouldn't stay together. They were too small. That's when Kenny learned, he didn't have the horsepower that he wanted with that. So what'd he do? One night he put a Chevy in, one feature. Neglected to tell anybody what it was, and Don Rice called him and congratulated him, and he found out about 2 hours later that it was a Chevy instead of a Ford. That ended that deal real quick.
Real quick.
Yep. Yes.
What was your best year?
My best year, probably 1980 and 81. I won the track championship at Selinsgrove both years, okay? That was my best year, and I had another good year at Port Royal. I didn't win the championship, I ended up second, but I won the most features, okay? But I'm saying, and I don't know what year that was, but I remember the 80 and 81 deal, so. Yeah.
Everybody must have been running at Port Royal the year he won it.
Yeah, and they all moved to Selinsgrove when I went up.
At Port Royal, yeah, I understand. I know how that works. I had a guy used to call me Easy Picking Paxton.
Nothing wrong with that.
He had a chart, here, and any place I was running was always on the bottom rung. Hogan Fogarty, there's guys from up would know that. He was Johnny Crawford's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
And Ed Spencer's right-hand man, but he was funny. Yes, wait a minute. No, not Hendershot, one behind you.
Do you have any recollections of racing the Williams Grove National Opens before the Outlaws and that?
Yeah, in fact, I had fast time there one time, and I lasted about 5 laps, and the rear end went out. But and I will admit that I had the best racetrack. I went out early and had a little bit of moisture to work with. But boy, I sweated the whole day out till the rest of them were done, because when you had Bobby Allen, I don't know, Stevie Smith on those dry hard racetracks, you never knew. And but I did have.
That was in the camel car.
No, that was in the 14.
Oh, was it? Okay. Nice.
Now the camel car is the one I won both of those track championships
Okay.
with.
Well, I remember one year, it had in the program, the whole rig coming in hooked on a wrecker. Were you driving it then? When they apparently blew a motor or something in the tow vehicle, and they come in towing
Yeah.
the race car and everything?
Yeah, I sort of remember that.
Okay.
I think I was driving it. You have to remember, at my age, memory isn't one of the pluses.
Yeah, but you still remember that mirror you had in your cabin.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, but there was a lot of things in there that
All
bring
right.
it back.
We're not going there. We run a family show here, you understand?
Yeah, and I want to tell you, you see Lynn's family come up here to me? My daughter's named after him.
Well, I just signed a card for a guy, he had his son there, and his name is Paxton. His first name. So it's pretty bad. I mean, that just proves race fans are a breed of their own. I mean, you know, when they were somewhere and they liked somebody, it wasn't just for a little while, it was for a long time. And that's why racing's so great. That's why this place is here, because of people like that. Mr. Hendershitz.
I would ask Barry, weren't you Bob Fetter's first drivers?
No, I was his second driver. Okay. Who drove that?
Bobby Landis one day.
No.
Was it Bobby?
Stoney drive that car.
Stone, after him, right?
Huh?
Jerry Stone, after you.
Yeah, that was after me.
Frankie Kerr?
No, that was after me.
Okay.
Was it
Okay.
Bobby Landis? Barry?
No,
See,
no.
after you too.
Come on. Anybody answer that question in here?
Bobby Landis is the first
Bobby Landis.
Was he? Oh,
All right.
Troy and them would know it better than I do.
Well,
He knows
all
more
right.
about-
Okay, Troy. One for you, okay?
Yeah, and you're walking home.
I'll take you home, Troy. Don't worry about it. I'm going up to the cabin.
I think Scotty
Yes.
Does Jerry have any of the cars that he drove through his career?
Not a one. I wish I had the first one. If I just had the body, I could build the rest, but I don't have it. I took it to the junkyard. It was so full of, fiberglass and body putty that it weighed too much anymore. And I got rid of it, but boy, I wish I had it back.
You called that the Blue Angel too,
Yep,
didn't you?
yep, I-
Yeah.
Called it the Blue Devil too one year, and that was the worst year I ever had. I quit that.
Lynn,
Yes.
Barry, talk about Jack Gunn.
Oh, man.
By the way, we have, all of Jack Dunn's pictures from all those years, we do have now.
He-
We are, yeah. We have a couple of files, I call them the, how do I say it? The girl file. You know, he loved Queens and loved all them pictures. Well, we've got at least 2 albums in there full enough of those. And some of his promotions that were less than spectacular.
But he was a promoter.
He was.
He wasn't a promoter. He was a promoter.
Well, one thing, we have Jack Gunn's complaint file, so I went through it and you're not in here, so. He's in here and some of the others.
When we did Bob Weicker, okay, when was that? In December. Well, Van May was here. All right? And somehow or another, he had found his file. And there's a letter right there, addressed to Jack Gunn, complaining about one driver. And they read this letter, and Dan's standing over here not paying attention, and they said, the driver that drove this guy nuts was Van May. Well, poor Van, I want to read that letter. I mean, these are right out of the files, you understand?
I see this guy likes to sign his name. He's sincerely Black Sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Is Sam in there?
Okay, one of them I want to tell you, while we're talking here, I just thought of a story that includes this guy. Okay. They wanted to have aluminum motors.
We're running out of time right
Yeah.
now.
Aluminum motors, you know, and I was against aluminum, period, you know, which I will admit I was wrong, but that's beside the point now. Billy Gettle was there, and three promoters, well, I know Nick Toro and Jonesy was there. I believe the other guy was there. What was his name?
George Wolf.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, we're sitting there talking about it, and he's for it, and I'm against it. And Billy Gettle's there, and Paxton comes up. You know Paxton. He comes up with this deal. If we paint it black, would it be legal? Because they had that cast iron spray, you know, you can spray over it. Now, I got to be careful how I tell the rest of this, but Billy Gettle said, if I painted you black, would you be? That's all I'm saying. And I always remember that.
No, the rule, they were going to say no aluminum blocks. And my question was, well, how do you check? They said, well, we're going to drill a hole. I said, you're not drilling a hole in my motor unless you buy it. Well, then we'll use a magnet. Well, see, it's been done. You can impregnate those so the magnet will stick to them. Then you paint them, okay? And they were aware of this when I laid that on them.
Well, Billy was definitely.
Well, Billy's the one that bought old patches down there for $300. The one we ran. You know, we had no money in it. But they finally, what they did is they wouldn't let aluminum blocks run until the outlaws were here. So they kind of tied our hand behind us. I wish they'd have left us go, but we learned how to get that big, heavy one around too, though.
Well, yeah. Against my little 312.
Like I used to tell scats, I said, you know, if you're going to go plow the field, bring your brink tractor. Don't say, oh, well, he outplowed me because he had. If you're going to play the game, play the game.
I know, but I didn't have the sponsors you had. You know, his dad.
No,
You know.
that never happened. That never happened. My dad, after he saw me make a little money, he bought his own race car. Gary Castle drove for him. Who else? Anyhow, he did. He owned a race car for a while.
What I wish he'd hired me.
Well, but there was no power steering, so I don't think that would work.
Now, what were you going to ask?
Here's another name. This is a letter to Jack from Jim Lunt.
Yeah.
And he writes in here, one thing that bugs me is that you bring up stars all the time, and after a few years they go elsewhere. By the way, whatever became of Bob Adamson? He had a bad year and then quit. It always seemed to me that Bobby was too timid to be a race car driver, although he is one of the smoothest drivers I ever saw.
Now, make up your mind.
Well, he was not timid.
No, he was not timid.
As you know, we have his son restored his car, and we do have it in the museum now. And if you look at the wood wing that's on it, that's not made up. Al donated that to us years ago. And when he said he had the car, we decided to give it back as long as he didn't restore it. And that is the original wing back on that car. The only thing difference is Bobby signed it and Al Hamilton, they both signed it. Make sure you look at it before you leave. It's right next to Ray Kelly's 88, you can't miss them. And Mitch Smith's car is right up here. We couldn't put Mitch's down there because we come in here and they're all tangled up every time we come in, so that's why we separate.
Mitch was different. He was probably the greatest guy I ever knew. But I went golfing with him, and he was a terrific golfer. But I drug him down. I brought him down to par. But
he had natural reflexes like a cat.
Yeah.
He's the only guy I know. Everybody said about, well, he was nuts. I said, yeah, a little bit. I never seen anybody get a car out of order as bad as he did, and usually figured out how to straighten it out. But when he stuffed them, they weren't repairable.
No,
Dick Hench, out back, it was like a graveyard back there. He just didn't front clip it. They called Floyd, build us a new frame, we got to come out and get it. So,
I always remember John Reechester, it was down at Selinsville, we had raced Port Royal, and Mitch used up one of those Edmonds real quick, you know, because they were so light, and that wasn't Mitch's kind of car. But anyway, we
was at Selinsgrove where he ricocheted off the fourth turn wall and won the 50 lapper. After the race was over, as he knows, and a lot of people don't know, John Reechester would not watch Mitch race. He'd stand behind and ask, he had a guy there, spotter, say, what's he doing now? And he's popping Rolaids the whole time. He would not watch him. He just scared the shit out of him. And I remember him walking down with the winner's trophy and walking up. Mitch hit that same place and just shot him off the corner up at Selinsgrove. And he walked down just to see where he hit the fence every lap. Won the race.
He was something. Because I could still hear John that day at Selinsgrove. He said to me, we went to Selinsgrove after Port Royal, and we were going in Fitgate. John came in alongside of me there, and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do with that Mitch. He said, he's just crashing these cars as fast as I can get him. And he was right. He was going through a pile of them. Huh?
Well, the owner of this car right here, I finally ended up getting it away. And the owner's back here, and it's just about done. How far along are you? About 3/4. I told him he's got to have that done so he can take it up and show it off up at Reechester's, you know?
That would be neat.
And that was 1968, right?
Yeah.
Exactly 50 years ago. And John Reechester's still the all-time leading feature winner for owners at Port Royal. Yeah. Now, believe it or not, the 41 car above there is exactly the same car. They sold out to Don Kimmerling, and the next year it had the 41 on. It looked the same. And I said, I think he won 23 races, 68. Am I close? Yeah. Okay. And I said, Don, how many did you win with that winning car? He said, I didn't win a one. I finished third, I finished fourth. But so that's pretty neat. I'm going to be glad to see that car done.
And Mitch and I were golfing, and I hit one into the water, right? He's running the cart, driving the cart. Drove it right into the pond, right down in it. I said, what are you doing? He said, well, that's where you hit it.
Anybody else? Yes.
Barry, where did the number 14 come about? And didn't you drive a number 17 that Spunk Wilson ran at one time?
My first ride, okay, was an orange 17, okay. It was from Sarah, Pennsylvania. I'm trying to think of their names now. There was two ladies, and I can't say it, doesn't matter. Then I drove the 17 that Spunk had drove, okay, for Johnny Kearns. Well, Johnny Kearns had got me the other ride, you know.
And Johnny's been a mechanic for
forever.
Ever.
And as far as the 14, that's where I finished my first feature. And I didn't tell you guys the whole story, and that's sort of cute. Okay, now I went to the racetrack, had never been in a race car before, but I had seen this car win, okay? So we went out in warm-ups with it, and man, I leaned on that coming off of turn 2 when they threw the green. And I said, well, there ain't nobody gonna beat me tonight. About that time, Brian went by me in his new car that fast I thought I was going backwards. So I decided this was a different game. And at that time, you always had more cars than could race in there. It isn't like it is today where everybody qualifies. I mean, they had a lot of cars back then. And I was parked alongside of Billy Stroth on one side and Brian Osgood on the other, and they were both from the same area. Okay, so I'm parked there. Now I went out in the heat race. Well, there was no way I was going to qualify. Now I got to start in the rear of the consi, and I know I'm not going to make it. And Roselle Dolan come walking down to me, and he said, "How you running, Barry?" I said, "There ain't no way I can, qualify in the consi." I said, "I'm not good enough." And he said, "Well, Barry," he said, "I'm already qualified." He said, "Do you think the car's fast enough?" "Oh, yeah." I said, "The car's fast enough. I'm not fast enough." And he said, "Well, I'm already qualified. Why don't I take it out and get it qualified for you?" Which isn't exactly legal, okay? As you'll find out as I tell you more of the story. But anyway, Tim Palm was the announcer, and I can still hear him. I was hiding in front of the truck so nobody'd see me. And I told Rosie before he went out, "Now just get a qualifying spot. They know that I'm not good enough to win this race. So don't go charging up through there. I know the car will do it. I don't need you to do that." Well, he didn't listen. I'm hiding in front of the truck, and I heard Tim Palm saying, "I don't know who this camp kid is, but boy, he learns in a hurry." I'm saying, "Oh, shit." Now he goes all the way up to second. Well, Billy Schroth was in the consi. Now he's leading the consi. Now he's pitted right alongside of us. And Rosie knows that. And he knows all of them too. He's the one that got me to buy the car. So he keeps pulling up alongside out the backstretch. I can still see him then backing off. Because he could have passed him any time he wanted to, Well, now he's making a fool out of Billy, Well, anyway, so now they pull into pits. Well, it's dark by consi time. Pull into pits, and Pee Wee Stewart, Pee Wee was his first name, and him and Roselle were the best of friends. They both came from Mifflintown, but he was a pit steward, and Pee Wee that's why they called Pee Wee, just a little guy. Come down there, and he looked in the car when Roselle came in. He said, "Camp, is that you?" And Roselle said, "Yeah." And he turned around, he made about 2 steps, and you could see him pick up his foot, and he stopped. Said, "Roselle, you asshole, you." So anyway, we went ahead and raced, okay, and I finished 14th. But now we get up to the payoff line, and we're going in the payoff line, and when Roselle and I went in together, and it was good we did, because they said, "You and you go over there." As soon as they were done paying, they closed the door, and then we got a talking to. And they said, "We're going to pay you, but if it ever happens again, neither one of you gets paid." Right. So I cheated for my first race. But I was actually 14th. That's the car number that Brian had on was number 9. And I raced that the first night, and then I made it number 14.
Barry, what motor were they running in that car then?
427 Ford.
Okay, didn't they at one time run Dodges or?
No, he didn't. That was, is that Swifty or that Plymouth or Dodge him? I don't know, but no, they run Fords really.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a Dodge later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are any of the Osgood brothers around yet?
I don't know. Isn't that something?
Vern passed away. He was a car owner, and last I heard, I think Brian was living in Florida, but this is a few years ago. Okay.
I haven't seen him for many years.
I thought I heard that Brian had passed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Brian did.
Yeah, I at his age, he would have.
I'm certain of that.
Okay.
What year did you drive for Bob Fetter?
Well, I'm not good with years. Troy, what year did Dad drive for Bob?
End 83 through 85. And then when they parted ways, then they hired TJ Giddings.
Yeah.
Well, Frankie drove for him after that.
After Giddings.
Okay.
Jerry Stone and Giddings.
Scotty Hawes did.
Yeah.
I think Frankie was the last driver through that car. It's possible.
Well, when did Stoney drive it?
Maybe in between Giddings and
And Frankie.
yeah.
Okay.
Giddings didn't last a long time.
No, but Stone was there before Frankie, yeah.
Yeah, Frankie was the last guy, and they actually combined with McBride and Schoaf then, when they were on the road.
I think Scotty Hose on his own sprint car race at Williams Road in that car for a while. 77.
Could be, I don't know, I don't remember.
Is Fetter still alive?
Oh, yeah.
Is he still in the coin-op business? Or
I don't know what he's doing. He's still as loud as he ever was.
He's a big man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you a story about him. I always thought it was funny. He was the kind of guy that in front of the grandstand, he didn't mind blowing it off a little bit that he had some money, okay? But anyway, I won the first feature that he had won, I think, also, but at my first feature in the 77, okay? And I said to him before we started the race that night, I said, you know, I'd like a pinball machine. I said, if I wouldn't race tonight, will you give me a pinball machine too? Oh yeah, you know. So I won. And so I brought it up out there. I said, I'm gonna get a pinball machine. Oh yeah, Fetter said. I said, you know, I could use the jukebox too if I wouldn't actually. Because I knew in front of that whole crowd, what's he gonna say? But yeah, you got the jukebox. Well, I got both of them. So.
Yeah, but then Kenny Weld wins for Weichert, and he gives him a new Camaro.
I never made out quite that good.
Oh, all right, okay. Last call for alcohol. Anybody got a question they gotta ask? Troy? Oh, hey, man, we got Troy.
Tell some Jim Kennedy stories.
Oh, man. All right. We were at Port Royal the one night, and you know, Jim had quite a few kids. Okay, but anyway, they announced over the loudspeaker that his wife just had a child that day. And we're down in the payoff line, and Jim was right behind me. I said, Jim, congratulations. I said, I hear your wife had a baby today. He said, yeah. I said, what'd you name it? Man, he went all blank. Boy, he said, Barry, I don't know, but its last name's Kennedy. Now, I'll tell you another one. He won a race one night, okay?
At Port Royal.
At Port Royal, got to checkered, ran into turn 1 and 2 fence and crashed it all up. You know, so this was the same deal. He was in the payoff line with me, and I congratulated him for the win. And I said, what happened? Did you crash? Well, he said, you know, Johnny Grum was behind me. And he said, you know how sly he is. And he said, I just wondered how far back he was, and I looked.
Him and I share that. I did the same thing at Lincoln. We had a good weekend going, and Smitty, who was my owner, you know, he said with the Ford, he said, now look, I want to go away tomorrow, so if you got to run second or third, fine. Don't push the subject, because I don't want to work in the car all day, you know. So I'm leading the feature, and we had pretty good hand signals. If Abel was coming, he'd give me 2. You know, Abel was coming like hell. All of a sudden, with about 3 to go, he gives me this, you know, man, somebody's coming. So, boy, them last 3 laps, I mean, I was right on top of the steering wheel. I come down, I took the checkered flag, and I thought, who in the hell? Because he ain't saying Abel, you know, we knew that was. So I turned around and looked, there wasn't anybody in the same straightaway. And I kind of, Now I was still on it though. I looked around and I got in the first turn too far, stuffed her in the wall, bent the front axle, bent the rear axle. I brought it around for a checkered flag, but boy was he an unhappy kid.
I was going to say, does Smitty still talk to you?
Oh my, he was pissed. I helped all the next day to put it, fix it up, but we've got her going.
The cowboy Jim Kennedy used to have combs and pencils and stuff, and the kids just loved him with that big wing.
Well, everybody loved the big wing, and we made fun of them to start with, and we learned a lesson. We all started putting them on because that's what made him fast.
Well, he had that big block, would put
Yeah.
out a lot of horsepower and torque, and with that big old wing, it hooked her up. And I want to tell you what, you better pack a lunch. If what he was doing the right way, he was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And the thing is like I said, we all started to build them up. Well, after a while, you can't see the flagman. You can't see nothing, you know. Then
Well, he had a 4x8 sheet of plywood on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Picture right up there, right?
yeah,
Is
there's
that your
right
car
there, see
background,
it?
Barry?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I always tickle. I think he only had one tooth even back in the day, you know. And then he retired for a while, and he told Johnny Grum and I one night that he was coming back racing again. And Grum and I both said, "Well, if you come back, we'll pit crew for you." So he come back racing again, and what I like, he'd yodel for the people.
Yeah, the last race he won at Port Royal, when
305.
305. They asked him to get on, he said he had to wait till he got his breath back.
I tell you what, if everybody raced for the same reason he raced, race would be good.
Yeah.
It was just fun loving,
Yep.
stand on the pedal, and he was fast.
Well, there was a point there where he was.
Yeah.
No, I did watch a guy dunk
Well,
one night.
we have a film here when he first started, and he wrecked in the third and fourth turn, and it said he was a professional welder, and the car broke in half. It was meant like that. I said, I don't think I said I was a professional welder if a car broke in half like that, right at the motor. Didn't hurt him, but it did. It broke the car right in half. Anybody else? There you go. Okay.
Barry, didn't you have a stint in the wiper car for like a weekend
Yeah.
or two?
Yeah, no, I was in for about a half a year. It might have been longer than that. But it was, I started, I think it was like a half or 3/4 of a year, but I run for him. But it was at a time Bob didn't have money like he had before. And to be honest with you, this will tell you a little bit about race car drivers. Keith had lost his ride and needed a ride, okay? And Keith, that's where he made his living at that time, okay? And he said something to me. I said, well, I don't need that ride. I said, the only thing I'll tell you is, it isn't like the last time when you drove for me, because back then they had all the money they wanted. And I said, it's going to be a different time, but I said, if you need a ride, call Bob. I'm sure he'll hire you in a minute. And he did.
What year was that about, Barry?
Oh.
80? Could have been 80? No, you were winning. You won the championship
No.
with another car.
It would have been after I raced for Campbell's. Might have been between Campbell's and, no.
96.
Huh?
Around 96.
96,
Yeah.
okay.
That's why I brought him along.
I'm glad. You should have got him closer to the front, though. Anybody else? Well, we did, well, Barry, I'm glad you showed up, because I can't talk for, yeah, I can talk for 2 hours.
I was just
No
gonna
way.
say, now don't be lying.
All right.
We've had enough of that.
Well, Barry, I want to thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
All right? And you make that delivery to Ralph and tell him it would be on YouTube, okay? And said all those good things about him. Well, I don't know, you have any food left? What are you long on?
We have hot dogs.
Okay, there you go, before you leave. Now, we're getting you out of here early so you can go watch them 2 playoff games today, okay?
And we're all rooting for Philadelphia.
I'm sorry, Minnesota over here.
See, that's what I say.
Hey Barry, where'd you get about me one night when you broke your
Oh,
back?
well, I don't need a loudspeaker anyway, but my battery went bad, right? And I needed a battery. And the guy said, we don't have any alone. We don't have another battery. I said, well, I need the battery. I can't race without having a battery. So next thing you know, they say, well, you're fine now. We got a battery for you. You know, well, I figured they got it off one of the other guys, you know what. And so I went out and run the race, came back in. I said, okay, guys, you better take that battery back to whoever you got it from. He said, nah, I don't think we better do that. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, we took it out of a car out in the parking lot.
Is that when Old Fart was helping you?
He was there.
Oh.
That's when I started helping him. I needed to do it to get my battery back.
Okay, anybody else? Well, thank you. It was great. I wish we'd had a couple more people up here, but Barry kept us entertained.
Well, no, thank you for coming, everybody.
Okay. And our experts, I didn't hear.
We didn't get the same line.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right, enjoy yourself. We'll be open till 4 o'clock. Make sure you get something to eat. And thank you again.